They're nightmare fuel, guys. He has the highest kill count in the Star Wars canon. It's horrible. It's dark. We get to see it. He connects with friggin' space whales. Hi guys, welcome back to another Nerd Rants video. Today we're gonna talk about a show that I rewatched on a whim in the last month. Probably about 2 or 3 weeks. I just binged it. We're gonna talk about Star Wars Rebels. I really gave the show a lot of crap. And kind of sort of refused to watch it when it first came out because the initial animation, I didn't. What little stuff I saw from trailers and whatever else, I wasn't a huge fan of. And yeah, there are definitely things in that show where the animation is not great. Wookiees and babies. They're nightmare fuel, guys. It's not good. It's very much gross and yeah. But yeah. So anyway, I kind of boycotted the show for the entirety of its runtime. It had 4 seasons. I didn't watch any of those when they came out. So yeah, I got around to watching it for the heck of it. I don't remember what exactly made me want to watch it, but I watched it, and because of those expectations, like negative expectations I had going in, I was like, whatever. There were things I liked, there were things I didn't like. I basically didn't want to admit that there were parts that it was a decent show. But yeah, this is actually the 3rd time I've watched all the way through it. I think I rewatched it after telling my brother Race to watch it, and was a little more into it and open to it being a good show. And then I rewatched it again in the last 3 weeks. I don't know what put me in the mood to watch it, but I was in the mood to watch it, so I just binged it for 3 weeks straight. And I don't regret it. It was fun. So Star Wars Rebels, better after a rewatch? Honestly, yeah, it gets better as you rewatch it, because once you get past, like, that first episode, they're saving Wookiees, and the animation for the Wookiees is so bad. They're terrifying. They're like, it's not okay. It's really gross. So that's the first, well, technically the 2nd episode, but like the first 2 episodes are it's a little 2-episode arc start. And that's what we start with, is the horribly animated Wookiees. And yeah, it turns you off a little bit. But yeah. And then if you get past that, the Wookiees don't really show up again. And then the animation is fine until we have an episode where they're protecting Force-sensitive babies, and they're almost worse than the Wookiees, especially the human baby. There's a human baby and an alien baby that we see. The alien baby is fine. It's an alien baby. It's okay if it looks gross, but the human baby is awful. But yeah, it's, besides that, the animation really isn't that bad. Their hair, in the first season at least, their hair looks like plastic. Like, you get the Lego set, the Star Wars Rebels Lego set, and Sabine's hair for the Lego piece looks exactly like her hair in the show. Her hair looks like plastic. And that was, yeah. Because Ezra's hair kind of looked like plastic too. Which doesn't make sense, because Kanan's hair looked fine. It looked like real hair. And then we had Sabine and Ezra's hair, which shined, like, and stayed in one place, except for maybe 2 strands, and it was like, it looked like plastic. But yeah, that's only like three little things. And then the animation for Sabine's hair got better, and I guess I could say that Ezra's hair got better, but that's because he shaved it all off in the third season, so they didn't have to animate it. Yeah, so the animation was a lot better than I expected, and I come to appreciate it more and come around to being okay with it more as I rewatch it and realize it's not that bad, it's just different than Clone Wars. I definitely prefer the Clone Wars animation style, but they're different animation styles, so I can't I can compare them, but I can't judge them on that comparison because they are different. I prefer the one, but the Rebels animation style is not bad. There's just certain little details where I'm like, I don't like that part of it. But yeah, the animation really isn't that bad, and when I first watched it, I went in expecting it to be horrible, and so I kind of saw it as horrible, and so rewatching it with those expectations now set aside and whatever else, because I've seen the show and I know that it's not as bad as I went in believing it would be. I definitely can appreciate the art style and the animation a little bit more. So that definitely got better with the rewatch. Characters. I will say, they're pretty much all annoying in the first season. Ezra's just a little punk, and I don't like it. Zeb is sort of like the dumb muscle character, the tank, essentially. And he doesn't show a lot of intelligence and a lot of depth in the first season. We do get the one episode where we talk about like the slaughter of the Lasat people, but it's kind of addressed, and then it doesn't seem to affect him that much unless it's brought up, except when it's brought up like one other time in the season. And so we don't get too in depth with his character in the first season, and so he's a little more annoying than anything else. I feel like Kanan just had the most weirdly written lines in the entire series. If there was like a super noticeably weird or like a weirdly phrased line, or sometimes not even a weirdly phrased line, just how the voice actor delivered the line, it was always Kanan. It was always Kanan. It was either a kind of a weirdly phrased line, or he just delivered it in a kind of a weird way. I don't know. So for the most part, Kanan was like, he was a good character. He was intriguing, and I liked the idea of him being a Padawan that escaped Order 66 and growing up and being like this partially trained Jedi and learning to hide who he truly was in order to survive, and, you know, meeting Hera, getting dragged into the rebellion. But yeah, him finding ways to help people without revealing he's a Jedi, and then that leading him and everybody to get kind of sucked into the rebellion. So he's an intriguing character. I feel like he just was given the weird lines, or the voice actor just delivered them in a weird way. I don't know. The only character that was never annoying in the show was Hera. Hera was done well. I liked Hera. She was not like, because they also shoved a lot of the comedic relief stuff on Zeb as well, as Zeb and Ezra as well, which didn't help with them having good in-depth characters that they could build on, because a part of it is like, well, they still have to be the comedic relief, so we can't give them too serious of a moment or whatever. So they didn't quite balance that well in the first season. So then we had Hera, who wasn't a comedic relief character, and so we could get more in-depth with her character and more into that. And then we had Chopper, who is again sort of a comedic relief character, but is also just a complete sadist. We looked it up. He has the highest kill count in the Star Wars canon, counting indirect deaths, of course, like ships he blows up, but still, this astromech has the highest kill count in Star Wars. And he's very clearly a sadistic droid. And throughout the first time I watched it throughout the entire series, but especially for the first season, even when I rewatch it, I just wonder, like, why do you keep him around? He's very, very problematic. I get you saved him when you were a child and you fixed him, and so now he's like your pet of sorts. But, like, the amount of problems he causes that they have to fix is... Yeah. It's like Tika from Island Princess. He's kind of a negative plot device. He is a tool of the plot to be used to make the problems that they have to solve throughout the series. But as you go on, he gets, I guess, a little bit more helpful and a little less crazy, problematic, sadistic. Well, not less sadistic, but less problematic, I guess. He's not as responsible for all of the deaths. Well, not all the deaths, excuse me, all the problems. He still is responsible for deaths, but for not for causing the problems. Yeah, so Chopper was, Chopper's a character. He exists. He's there because they need a droid, because in the Star Wars universe, you need a droid. There is not a single Star Wars project where there is not a droid sidekick. Unless you count Andor, but that's technically a prequel to Rogue One, and in Rogue One, he has a droid sidekick. And so, I don't know if that counts. It sort of counts. But yeah, in every other Star Wars project, there is a droid sidekick. Every single one. And it varies how good they are. But yeah, it's a staple in the Star Wars universe. Not a bad one, unless the droid is just awful. But, you know. And then... yeah, we talked about Hera being the best character in Season 1. But as we go through the seasons, Season 2, we get a little bit darker with it, because they're facing more Inquisitors and they're facing Vader, and they're getting into because they don't want to defeat the Sith, because like we don't stand a chance as long as the Sith are a thing, and so they're trying to find the way to defeat the Sith, which leads them into studying and trying to find information about the Sith to understand the Sith, which leads them to a Sith temple, and Maul shows up, and we get all the fun things, and so it gets a little bit darker, and so we can get a little bit darker with and more into the characters as well. Because the first season established the characters, not necessarily done very well, unfortunately, in this series, but second season, characters established, so we can definitely get deeper into what they are. And Zeb definitely gets, I think, the least amount of development in the entire series, which is sad because his story really is cool, because he was like a captain of the Royal Guard, essentially. They called the Honor Guard for his people on his homeworld, and he thinks he's, like the last survivor, essentially, of his people. He hasn't seen any more of his people since the slaughter, and so he's joined the rebellion because the Empire wiped them out. And then we learn pretty early in the first season that Agent Callus, who is an Imperial agent, is at least partially responsible for what happened on Lasan, I think is the name of his homeworld. And having their rivalry was a fun part of it. And then to the point where, was it season 2? I think they get trapped on an ice moon together because battle and things, and they hijack the Imperial ship for things, and then they escaped from the escape pod, all the things, but they end up trapped on that together, and them coming to terms with each other and coming to have a sense of respect for one another and being able to explain each other's feelings and situations concerning the slaughter of the Lasat people. And that was honestly a very good episode. I loved that episode. I honestly wish we got more of their dynamic, because after Callus joins the rebellion as Fulcrum and then later as himself, because Thrawn found him out, we don't get a whole lot of them interacting after that Ice Moon episode, which is kind of sad. We get a segment at the end, which the end was a little disappointing. I'll explain why later. When Sabine is explaining where everybody's at in life, and explains that Zeb took Callus to the secret original homeworld of the Lasat people. It's Lorison, I think. And we have that, and the comment of he was welcomed as one of their own. And I wanted more of their dynamic and their relationship and how that developed to get to the point where he's accepted as one of the Lasat people. Because that was a very intriguing part of Zeb's story, and I wish we had gotten, I think, more development with Zeb's character and leaned more into the deeper side of his character, because he got the least, I think. So yeah, that was something I wish we had more of. Sabine gets a lot of her development in season 3 because she finds the Darksaber. Because again, they interact with Maul, and he and Ezra have to do this ritual thing on Dathomir, which Night Sister stuff, it's great. I love it. Night Sister, witch magic, all of that. It's so fun. But that's apparent. It looks like it's where he's been staying because all of his stuff is stashed there, including the Darksaber. And so they go there and they fight him. They have to fight the spirits of the Night Sisters, who were all slaughtered by the Empire. And Sabine finds the Darksaber. And so this gives her the predicament of, this is basically the talisman of my people for the leader. The person who leads the Mandalorians. Excuse me. And this is mine now. What do I do with this? I don't want this, because she's essentially been exiled from her planet and from her home because she helped build weapons for the Empire. Which again, like all the characters, they have interesting backstories. They just don't get we don't delve as deep into some of them as I wish we did. Because we have a lot of offhand mentioning and a lot of things about Sabine being in the Imperial Academy. But I don't know, maybe get a little bit more. But yeah, having her train with the Darksaber, coming to accept that this saber came to me. For whatever reason, it's mine. I know how to, learning how to use it and coming to terms with her past as well. And then having to go back to her family to, I have the Darksaber. This is a very important relic of my people. I need to go talk to my mother and figure this out and try and make them see reason. Because they're serving the Empire because Sabine disgraced them. And then 2, because the rebellion needs help. And so having them go back and seeing her dynamic and the kind of the betrayal between her and that tension and the betrayal between her and her family was cool. And then also in the beginning of season 4, when Kanan and Ezra help her rescue her father, and having her past come back to haunt her, and they're using this weapon that she designed as an experiment against her people, which the weapon is also cool. Just a walker that shoots lightning that's attracted to Beskar armor until that just superheats them until the person inside is vaporized. is horrible. It's dark. We get to see it. There's just piles of ash and Beskar armor, and I love it. I love that. But having her past come back to haunt her and having that, the doubt from some of the other clans because of that, and her overcoming it and overcoming her past, and she definitely, it's like Zeb's, actually it's like Chopper's development, and Zeb's development, and Sabine's, and then everybody else is up here. I mean, Hera, I guess, doesn't like develop as much, but she's just a more developed character, I think. Because they start by developing her character and digging into her character very well from even the first season, versus some of the other characters which they don't at first and then like have to play catch up on. So she's like the most in-depth, well-developed character because they started developing her very well from the beginning. And I guess she does get development when they have to meet her dad. And help Ryloth and try and get this like ship carrier and whatever for the Rebellion. And then Kanan, I think, gets most of his development in the first season and the third season. Because in the first season we get a peek into his backstory, with the Grand Inquisitor knowing who he is and talking about his master and the struggle that he has with teaching Ezra when he is not fully taught himself, and like trying to pass him off and Luminar on Dually when they have the false information that she's still alive, and coming to terms with his role as Ezra's teacher and his master, and realizing that he is capable of doing it. And then in season 3, after he's blinded by Maul, coming to terms with that and learning that despite this loss, he's not helpless and Ezra still needs him. And yeah, it's the development may not necessarily like be as deep or as much or like when I wanted it to be in this series, but when they did do it, it was good development. It made me hate they made the characters less annoying because, like I said, Hera was the only character I had little to no issue with in the first season. After second to her would probably be Kanan, and then like Sabine, Zeb, Ezra, and Chopper were all like down here because they got not a lot of development. But yeah, and then Ezra, I like Ezra's development. We have him start, he's 14 in first season, and we start with him stealing from them and getting found, and then getting chased by the Empire and these rebels, so eventually ends up on their ship and watches what they plan to do with all these supplies and realizes they're really good people, and then being hooked by that and helping them save the Wookiees and going, and then Kanan realizing he's force sensitive and deciding to take him on, and so him learning all of this new stuff about himself. But again, in the first season, he's very much kind of more of a comedic thing, and then it's season 2, Vader and all of that, where he gets more powerful, and his connection with other creatures. I like that aspect of his abilities, because it doesn't get addressed a whole lot with pretty much any other Star Wars project. Like, I know it's kind of a thing, but it's not. We don't just see it taught and see it develop, and I think Ezra's the first Jedi we've seen who's like proficient at it, and so he connects. Once he figures it out, he can connect with all of these creatures, and he does it fairly easily. And he connects with freaking space whales. We'll talk about the space whales later. But Yeah, and he's just so proficient at it, and it's a very fun aspect of the Force to see and to explore. And so I really like that. And also in season 2, as they search for a way to defeat the Sith, he starts getting tempted by the dark side. And so then at the end of season 2, when Kanan gets blinded, and we have Ahsoka, who is Fulcrum in season 1 and then shows up in season 2 to help them every once in a while. And when she gets killed because she's fighting Vader and the Sith temple collapses, he figures out how to open a Sith holocron. And so we start out season 3 with him leaning into the darkness because he doesn't want anyone else he loves to get hurt, and because Kanan kind of isolates himself because, like, I'm blind, I can't help anyone this way. And it's... I love Ezra because I feel like the only real Jedi that we have who is in a Star Wars project, who's found and trained outside of the Jedi Order, that's like really trained outside the Jedi Order, is really Luke. He's the main one. And he never really leans toward the dark side. He stays good, which is great, good for him. But I love seeing this, having this duality inside of a Padawan who was started into this Jedi training when he was older, when he had already felt so much pain, when he had already formed attachments and lost those attachments, had them broken. And so seeing him in an attempt to do good and in an attempt to protect the people he loves, lean into the darkness a little bit and kind of turn just a little bit is very, very fun. Is very, very fun. So, yes. That's so great. So, the characters for the most, except for in season 1, the characters were done pretty well. The animation was not as bad as I thought it was. The plotline was actually very good. Not in season 1. Season 1 just overall probably was the worst of the series. But season 2, we get Vader, we get Maul, we get Ahsoka, we get all the different Force things as we're learning to connect with creatures, and the Sith holocron, and all of the things. And that's great. That's wonderful. I love that. One, because Maul returns. Ahsoka returns. We get them meeting up after the Siege of Mandalore. We get her and Vader meeting up, and her realizing who Vader is, and them having their fight in the Sith temple, and just this amazing conversation between her and Vader, going, I'm not going to leave you again. Last time I left you, and now you're this. So we even have a scene when Kanan and Ezra go to the Jedi Temple to try and figure out a way to defeat the Sith, because we can talk to Master Yoda there because there's a strong connection to the Force there. And she gets this vision of Anakin, and the only thing there's someone fan edited it, and it was wonderful. But we have him standing there, and she's hearing him talk to her and kind of go, you left me, you were selfish, you abandoned me, and goes, do you know what I've become? And it zooms in on her face as he says it, and then kind of pans over a little bit, and then all of a sudden he's Vader. And so someone made a little edit, and it had his voice shift from Anakin to Vader as he says, do you know what I've become? And that would have made the scene absolute 10 times better. That would have peaked the scene. That would have been fantastic. They didn't do that, which is unfortunate. But there's a fan edit out there somewhere. And it's wonderful, and I love it, and I wish it was actually in the show. But that scene's great. And so season 2 is wonderful. Season 3, we get more Maul. We get more Force stuff. We get Night Sister spirits. We get the Purrgil. Actually, no, the Purrgil starts in season 2, which is also great. The Purrgil are just giant space whales that can jump into hyperspace, and it's wonderful, and I love them. I love them. But anyway, yeah, season 3, more Maul, more holocron stuff, more Force stuff, more... We get Dark Ezra for a little bit, and it makes him, because of what he goes through, it honestly makes him a lot less annoying. Because he's taking on more responsibility in the rebellion, and he's stepping up, and he's becoming a man, I guess. I don't know exactly how much time passes between season 2 and season 3. Rebels starts 5 years before New Hope, and I think it's partway through season 1 that we have Ezra turn 15, which is on the anniversary of the day the Empire began. So I don't know exactly. It's probably like a good year or two between, I'd say at least a year between season 2 and 3. I could probably look it up, but I'm not going to. But yeah. So him being more grown up and him stepping up among the rebellion and him leaning into the darkness at this point and getting overzealous because he thinks he's getting so powerful and becoming unstoppable, essentially. And so he, makes this foolhardy mistake, and Kanan, now having come to terms with it because of the Bendu, who is another fun Force character, is just the gray area of the Force, and he exists. He's a Force being of some kind, and he's in the gray area, so he doesn't pick sides. He just exists. He is. And he's interesting. So yeah, him essentially having an intervention with Kanan, going, stop being an idiot, that you can use the Force to see what you need to see. You're not helpless. Suck it up, you dum-dum. And Kanan goes after Ezra. And so them rebuilding that relationship and reestablishing that relationship. Oh, was it season 2? Season 2, we also get Rex and Wolf and Gregor back. And having the dynamic of Kanan being there, not trusting them, and having to learn to trust them throughout season 2 is a wonderful thing. I love it. 1, because Rex. 2, because having that mistrust between him and Kanan because of what happened with Order 66 is a wonderful, wonderful detail. And I love it. And it was fantastic. And him learning to trust Rex and getting to the point where he trusts Rex with his life. And I love it. This is very disjointed, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting when and where things happen in the series. But wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. And season 4. Actually, no. I'm sorry. I forgot. Season 3. We get Thrawn. Which I will admit, when I first watched the series with all the negative expectations and all of that going into it, me trying to see it as a bad show, I thought Thrawn was boring. And then Reese watched it and went, he's great. And then I after that and went, yeah, he's right. Thrawn's great. What the heck was I thinking? I was looking for bad things in the show. Why was I doing that? So, Thrawn's a great. I love him. He's just this stoic dude who is super smart and a master at the strategy of war. And it's so good. And he can also beat the crap out of a buff, like, security droid. And it's great. We have a scene of him just sparring with 2 massive security droids and beating the crap out of them. He's kind of a scary dude. And I love it. And he just showing up to finding where the rebel base is at the end of season 3, sending a transmission, and her going, yeah, I'm never going to surrender to you, and him just going, you misunderstand. I'm not taking surrenders at this time. And just beating the crap out of them. And then going, okay, now I'll accept your surrender. It's great. We also have the end of season 4. They have this crazy but very cool plan to get the Empire off of Lothal. So they do what was I saying? They announce that they're doing Protocol 13, which I love all the hints that we have to the Death Star in this. We have giant kyber crystals that are used as a power source that they stop the Empire from getting, and then we have reference to Director Krennic, and then they have Protocol 13, which is evacuate all Imperial forces from a planet. And so they do that, and everyone goes to this giant dome in the capital city, and they're going to launch it and then blow it up, and no more Empire on Lothal. But Thrawn shows up, obviously, just in time to block their launch of the dome. And, you know, Ezra's going, hey, we got all of your people trapped in this dome. What? We have the upper hand here. And Thrawn just goes, really? You've just cleared the city, so I have no fear of bombarding the entire city with full force, and I will not just kill any Imperial forces. I just go, oh no! Oh, it's great. It's a wonderful thing. I love it. And Ezra's plan to get rid of Thrawn is wonderful and so smart. And Purrgil. More Purrgil. Oh man, it's season 4. I like that it happens a lot, mostly on the fall. It's kind of nice that it goes back to that. But yeah. I like Lothal. It's a fun planet. It's a fun planet. And we have Lothcats, which are adorable. And in season 4 we get Lothwolves, which are also cool because they're wolves. They're Lothwolves. They're wolves, they have kind of bird-like feet. I cannot speak. I'm sorry. Okay. Bird-like feet. They have some sort of, like, I don't know if it's hyperspace travel or something, but they travel very quickly across the planet. And they have a super strong connection to the Force. And they're just so fun. And they have a whole moment where they join the rebels when they're being attacked and just take out the Empire, and it's just great. They're just chomping up stormtroopers left and right, and I love it. The Lothwolves are very cool. I like Lothal. I really do like Lothal as a planet. And it's fun. Hee. Yeah. Okay. Last thing I think I need to talk about here is the ending. They reduce the entirety of, like, the New Hope Rebellion side of it to a 3-minute monologue by Sabine. I looked it up. Rebels was not canceled, so this was a choice they made. And maybe there was a longer time skip between season 2 and season 3, so that part of the season 4 was happening like during New Hope. I don't know. I'd like an explanation of that timeline, because that could give a reason for why they skipped over that. But we have it would be interesting to see the end, because we have Hera and Rex fought in the Battle of Endor, and we get a montage of Zeb bringing Callus to Coruscant, which I guess we don't need a whole scene for. But I don't know. It almost felt unsatisfying? I don't know. I don't know. I almost wish there was just another episode or two to... I don't know what I want. I just wanted a little bit more than a 3-minute monologue by Sabine. I don't know. I don't know what it needed, but it needed more. Also, if you watched Man Reese's Ahsoka video, you know the issue that we have with Jason Syndulla's animation in the one scene that he has at the end of Rebels. He looks awful. He definitely tops the babies and the Wookiees. I know he's half alien, but he's more humanoid than Twi'lek, and he looks like neither. He's got the green hair, which is atrocious. It looks atrocious. And then his face is just nightmare fuel. It's so bad. It's so bad! Oh man, nothing against Jason Syndulla as a character. He's very fun and kind of cool in Ahsoka. But that one 10-second shot of him in the finale of Rebels was horrifying. I never want to see him adapted in that way ever again. It's... Ugh. Nah. No. That was gross. But overall, it was very good, and after rewatching it, I definitely appreciate things more, and I was able to, after watching it through once with horrible expectations of it, be able to watch it with more of an open mind and go, no, this is not crap. It is not bad just because these few little things with the animation are wrong and a few of these lines are weird and Zeb and Ezra are annoying in the first season. That doesn't make it a bad show. It makes it a bad first season. And the rest of it is very good. But yes, I think this is definitely better after a rewatch. I very much like it. I still refuse to watch Star Wars Resistance. I refuse to acknowledge that show exists. As bad as you might think the Rebels animation is, Resistance is far worse. And I know I just had a whole discussion about how I shouldn't judge based on a comparison of two different animation styles, but I really, really don't like the animation style of Resistance. I haven't even seen that much of it, just like the thumbnail for the show when I was looking through things and trying to find Rebels, and the one or two random scenes that I saw from a trailer or whatever. And I don't like it. I don't like it. And the show should not exist, I don't think. No. Why would we do this? Why would we do this? The sequels are the least interesting part of the entirety of the Star Wars universe. They're not great. And they don't need more content. There are so many directions that the sequels could have gone, that they should have gone, and they did not go any of them. I think they found the worst and just the worst path of all their options, and they picked that. So, we're not going to talk about the sequels. That is an entirely different can of worms. If I were going to discuss that, it would probably be with Reese, because we just love ranting about how bad they were and all the things that we would do differently. Even just the little things we would change that would change everything and make everything so much better. But perhaps another time. Rebels was a decent show. I think I still prefer Clone Wars, just because the quality of Clone Wars was fantastic, and I loved it. And start to finish, it's really good. Rebels is good, but the first season kind of sucks. There are little animation things. There's not a lot of animation things that are gross in it. Overall, the animation is fine, but the few things that are kind of ugh in it are disgusting and horrifying, and I don't like them. And then some of the writing and the delivery of some of the lines is just a little bit so because of those little things, it gets dropped below Clone Wars, because the writing and the animation and the characters and the plots and all the little things in Clone Wars are just phenomenal. So yeah, Rebels is good. Definitely recommend to watch, as long as you can just push through season 1, because there are important things in season 1. And the saving grace of season 1 is the Grand Inquisitor. He's great and he's creepy and much better than how they portrayed him in Kenobi. The poor dude got done so dirty in Kenobi. But yeah, good, recommend. Most of you have probably already watched it, so I don't know who I'm recommending this to, but it's good and I enjoyed it, and I definitely have learned more to appreciate it and enjoy it more after a rewatch. So, my second thoughts, I guess, on Rebels, feel free to drop yours in the comments. We can rant about it. Whatever the heck you want, actually. Feel free to drop recommendations or requests or whatever else in there as well. More updates to come on the second channel. I've gotten some things recorded. We just gotta edit and get them ready to post. So that should be coming really soon, I think. Probably either Christmas gift or maybe a little bit later. Christmas gift for you all. I post videos every Wednesday and Saturday, and I'll see you all next time.